Hello and welcome back to another episode of Wigan Weekly, your podcast covering all things Wigan Athletic. We've got plenty to get through this week with the arrival of Archie Harris, plenty happening behind the scenes with Sarah Guilfoyle's departure and Anthony Cole-Johnson coming in, and the ownership situation, a review of Wigan's opening cup game against Barnsley, previews of Cambridge United away and Aston Villa under-21s at home. Plus, we'll be revisiting our season predictions and having a look at some of the other clubs' transfer windows. But there's something a little different about this week's episode because we've got some new faces joining us. We brought in some new contributors who will be writing and contributing to the channels, and we're hoping you'll be hearing plenty more from them throughout the season. So before we get into everything, let's introduce them properly.
Yes, guys. We'll start with Ethan. Tell us a little about yourself, mate. Who are you? How long you support Wigan for, and what got you into following the football club?
Well, I've supported Wigan since I was a young lad. It runs in the family. My dad was a Wiganer, and I want to get involved because it's just like me going to the pub with my pals. We always talk about the game. We always talk about the future. And yeah, I thought it'd be really, really good to get involved and just talk about it on the camera.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. And that's the sort of stuff we like to hear. Well, up next we've got Kieran.
So man's Kieran. Originally a Scouser, but ended up supporting Wigan all my life. I was rugby. I then met Ethan and a couple other lads a couple of years back. Started going the match from there, here and there. Started going home and away, and just fell in love with the club from there.
Good stuff, mate. I mean, I like the fact you switched from rugby to football. That's pretty interesting and quite cool in a way. Nice to hear. And then finally, but not least, it is Matthew.
Hi guys, my name is Matthew. I've basically been a Wigan fan all my life. Mainly watching clips from YouTube like Prime Barclays, like Roddy Yeager, Victor Moses, Al Habs, stuff like that. And yeah, I've just fell in love with it ever since.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Really cool to hear. A nice little mention to Ali Al Habsi, the legend himself.
So there we go. That's the new faces you'll hopefully be hearing a lot more of from over the coming weeks and months. And obviously, because they're new contributors, we're going to get their opinions on everything today. So if you disagree with anything they say, you know exactly who to blame. Right, let's get into it because we've got a fair bit to talk about.
We'll start with not the most eye-catching bit of transfer news, but it is Archie Harris. He joins from Bournemouth. He's a defender. I don't mind who starts, but what do we reckon of him as a signing?
I quite like the signing. I've seen a couple comments on Twitter from Eastleigh fans that mention he loves taking his man on and getting a ball into the box, which is exciting and what you want in a division like League One. You want that exciting fullback who's not scared to take his man on and get a ball into the area.
Yeah, that is very true. I think obviously Cornwall likes to use a back three, and I don't really know if Harris is used to back threes, but I suppose that time will tell that. And what do the rest of us think?
Yeah, I thought when he came off the bench against Barnsley, very pacey. Wanted to take his own man on and put crosses into the box, and yeah, I thought he was decent.
Yeah. Anything else to say, everyone? Morgan, you got anything to say?
Well, I couldn't watch the Barnsley game because I was at my mum's and we don't really have Sky Sports. So all I could really hear about all the players was, from other fans. I haven't really heard much about Archie Harris, but good thing is he's young and he's, as I can see from his transfer list, he was a Bournemouth Academy graduate.
Yeah.
So he's had Premier League facility experience.
Yeah, very minimal Premier League experience, but I think there's definitely potential there. Ethan, what do you reckon about this transfer?
I think Morgan's sitting down on the edge, to be honest with you. He came from Bournemouth Academy, and we all know what happened to win with Bournemouth Academy. You're going to make it some way or another, whether it be with Bournemouth or with somebody else. And like you said, he's young. And let's face it, if it doesn't work out for him in the first season, send him out to a long game, some more games, come back. fish back off. I think he'll be a top player for us.
Yeah, I mean, we all seem pretty confident. We all seem pretty happy with the side. I mean, he had a very good season last year on loan at Eastleigh and then on league, where he made 44 appearances, got a decent average match rating. It's his first permanent move since his Bournemouth days. I think it is, like you guys said, it's a decent bit of business. I mean, not awful, but not amazing in the Barnsley game, but early days, yeah. But fingers crossed, we'll see something from him.
Free transfer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I did see a couple of Leyton Orient fans mention on Twitter that he was on trial at Leyton Orient, and he didn't seem to cut it. But he seems to have impressed Caldwell, and it'll be good to see what he can bring to the side.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I mean, I can probably see that with Orient. To be fair, I think Orient aren't. I think I can see Richie Wellens being a bit of a fussy manager. I don't think he's willing to give that many young players a chance. To be fair, but yeah, I think overall it's a good bit of business. Curtis, what's next to talk about?
Next up, we'll talk about what we can't ignore in terms of what's been happening away from the pitch, which is obviously Sarah Guilfoyle's departure and the replacement of Anthony Cole Johnson. And there's been a bit of discussion around the ownership situation. So let's get into that, because I think there's quite a lot to unpack with it. So first off, what's everyone's initial reaction to Sarah Guilfoyle leaving? Because personally, I think it's a bit of a loss for the club. You know, she'd been there for 10 years in different roles. You know, she's someone who'd fight our corner. But yeah, I'm intrigued to hear what you lot think about it.
Yeah, I'd like to say,
Go on, Matthew.
obviously, you know, she's been there for over a decade. You know, she knows the club, she knows the DNA around the club. And this Anthony guy that's coming in, he doesn't seem to be staying long term from what I've seen in his previous. But yeah, I think there's something that they're not telling us. If there's a takeover happening or it's not happening, we just don't know. But yeah, it's an odd decision in my opinion.
Yeah, it is a very odd decision, to be honest.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I personally
it's
think
something that they wanted to bring more. They wanted to bring a stronger connection with the town, but she's known the club for over 10 years now. She knows what it means to be a part of Wigan, and for us to bring someone in who does seem to job hunt 2 or 3 years here and there, and then hop to another one, it just seems a strange decision.
Yeah, it is strange, and like you say, 10 years doesn't know the club. I do think that the club's reasoning is probably a little bit on the made-up side. I think there'll be a reason, but maybe it just hasn't been disclosed to the public yet. What do you think, Ethan?
Well, you'll never get a person like Sarah at the club again. I mean, she loves this club, she loves the team, she loves the people, and to see her go was obviously a massive shock, especially to the team.
Yeah.
So, with the new lad coming in, and as you say, he jumps from job to job, and it doesn't sit right with me at all. I mean, he won't have the same passion as Sarah did, unfortunately. But like I said, I'm not writing anything off. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But it's left a bad bit and it's coming back.
Yeah, exactly. Time will tell, and we'll see what happens. Morgan, last but not least, what do you think?
personally, I think this is shambolic from, well, the perspective that this person has been here for 10 years. She started when Caldwell first became our boss, and now she's left with Caldwell as our boss as well. I think this whole club is going to pot now. We've had, since the pandemic era, we've had terrible owners who don't give a damn about the club, who only care about one thing, and that's making money. And in Danson's case, from what I've heard, he doesn't care anything about the sport. All he cares is about getting the stadium rights. So he literally wants to bury us, I think. And it starts with people like Sarah leaving and bringing in absolute nobodies.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to, yeah, I think that you guys have said it is quite a big loss to the football club. 10 years is a very long time indeed. I mean, have you got anything to say about it, Curtis? What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think, you're losing someone who would, fight for the club, knows the badge, but I can partly see why they've done it, because this guy's got experience in,
Football.
If he's got an experience in business and trying to, make money where possible, I can see why they've done it. But it's like, why now? You've owned the club for 3 years. You've been trying to stabilize it. At what point do you say, why we're not spending or making better choices, because I don't think some of the stuff we've done is very sustainable.
Yeah, honestly, I totally agree with you, Matt. We will swiftly move on. What is next to discuss? Okay, right. Well, next up, we're going to discuss quite a big one, and this is I would say, really exciting potential transfer. It's not announced yet, but the interest has been there for a while now, and it looks like it's going to be confirmed very soon. It's Chelsea youngster, 17-year-old Reggie Walsh, an attacking midfielder with 61 appearances to his name in the academy. And 17 goals. That's across the under-18s, the under-19s, and the under-21s. Now, a lot of sources reckon that this guy would be and could be the Wigan player of the season if the deal goes ahead. What do we think, guys? Would Reggie Walsh be a phenomenal signing for Wigan, or would it be, or do you think he might be very overrated?
For me, he's what is he? 17 years of age now. This his first professional season.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's hard to tell, but we did this before, with Reece James. We know how good he was. But different positions, and he's being asked for different things. But let's face it, if anyone's going to do it, it might as well be him. It's like, I've not heard a single bad comment about the lad, and everyone just seems to think he's the second coming of Messi. So, hey, if it works for everybody else, then it'll work for me. I'll have it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should work. I mean, like you say, 17. I mean, I know a lot of people will be quick to say that he's not going to be coming to a club with, not an elite football club. But at the end of the day, if he needs experience, if he needs game time, I think Wigan's the ideal place. He will get game time at Wigan. I think for our level, he'd be considered an absolute baller. So, yeah, I think it will be a good sign. Kieran, Matthew, Morgan, what do you guys think?
I personally, I really like this. I watched a couple of his games earlier, especially the Champions League game against Ajax where he came on, and he looks explosive. He looks quick. He looks like he loves to take his man on, and I do think it will have a huge impact to the squad, especially being around some of the experienced lads like Power. You got the older heads like Fox as well. I think if he can get in there, get his head down, I think he can kick on and be a really, really good signing.
Yeah, it's true that, and you mentioned the Champions League games. I me's the fact that this lad's he's made 6 appearances for Chelsea in the first team, and to be fair, when you look at Chelsea's squad depth, you kind of have to think that he's worked clearly very hard to get into that team, and there's clearly something in him that's impressed the likes of Liam Rosinia. So overall, I do think this is a genuinely brilliant signing if it does go ahead, which it should do. Hopefully, it's going to be announced in the next couple of days, or maybe even today at some point. Morgan, Matthew, what do you guys think about Reggie Walsh?
Yeah, for me, I think it's it's a sensible signing. Like you mentioned, about 6 appearances in the first team, and I'm not completely sure, but I think he's one of the youngest in Chelsea's history to play in Europe. I think, unless I've got that wrong.
No, I think you're all right about that. Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's a sensible signing. Like someone touched on, he's explosive. Can play in different positions. But yeah, I think it's a very sensible signing, and yeah, hopefully gives us the same Reece James vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Go on, Morgan, and last but not least again.
I love it when we sign youngsters from the Premier League, but to be honest, recently we haven't had much success with them. Likes of Ramsey, Balagizzi, and who was that other one?
Luke Chambers.
Yeah, Chambers with the injury prone. I actually think we're all right with Chelsea loanees. Reece was amazing. Dujon was.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Dujon Sterling. Yeah, that's a good. That's a throwback.
Yeah, he was fairly mid, I would say. Yeah. I think Reggie could work, but the thing is, 17 years old. I don't think Caldwell will give him many games.
Yeah, I actually do agree. I do agree on that. He seems quite hesitant with youth players of a certain age, but then Wigan don't really have many. Our academy is quite limited. It feels like we only have really good academy players sort of in their later years, like 2021. And yeah, like you say, I feel like Caldwell hasn't really got much experience with literal kids between the ages of 16 and 18. So that is something to bear in mind.
Our academy, we keep loaning them all out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I think the fact that we've been pushing for a while to get this done makes me think Colwell hopefully will make the most of this kid, because at the end of the day, even if this guy does have a great loan spell and goes on to be a sensational player for Chelsea, then like we get with Reece James, Wigan's name will be pulled up in articles, and it will be continue. It will come up as as a matter of relevance to his career if it all goes to plan. So yeah, I do think that this is a well, it's not confirmed yet. I keep forgetting that, but it's likely. If it goes ahead, what would you guys all give it out of 10?
10.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say it's definitely of the higher. He's exciting. Like this kind of signing that excites me. He's young. He's hungry. He's coming from a really top, one of the elite clubs. He's been given the time under Maresca to learn and to develop. He's obviously involved in that first team environment if he's getting given the game time, especially in the Champions League. And you talk about Chelsea squad depth, how big their squad is. For him to even be getting a place in there is exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I did also see a couple of tweets from Kendrick today that he did point out the fact that Reggie Walsh was 9 years of age when Reece James signed for Wigan.
It's crazy. It's mental.
And also
Makes us all feel old now.
Also, the day of Amir Zaki's overhead kick at Anfield was the day Reggie Walsh was born.
Crazy.
It's written in the stars, mate. You should be in a Wigan shirt now. Written.
I personally rate this transfer a 7 because I'm happy that we're getting another good young player. But like I said, will Colwell give him enough games to prove himself?
I hope so. I really hope so. Okay, well, and I think with that we'll move on. What is on the shortlist next then? Okay, right. Up next, we're going to go through. We're going to review Barnsley away. For our first competitive game, I think there was pretty good spells in that game. I think particularly quite early on. We could have scored quite a few goals in that first half. And, for the first competitive game, what do you guys reckon? What do you think the work rate and the performances was like?
I think we looked good in spells, but it shows how bad we need a striker. That game alone shows how desperate we are for a striker, because we could have gone into that first half. We could have gone into half time 2-3 up there if we had that hungry striker who just knew how to finish his dinner.
It's a good way of putting it. Go on, we'll go to you next, Morgan. What do you think of the Barnsley game?
I can see glimpses that the new boys are settling in and Power's come back and he's settled in. But to be honest, it felt more like classic Wigan. One half we're good, the other half we're absolutely terrible, especially with the shots. I could have put away about half of those attempts, and I think a lot of people see my shooting and they usually blaze everything over the net.
I'm looking at the match stats. So possession was 60-40, Barnsley winning on that. Total shots 11-13. We had 8 shots on target, which, to be fair, when you look at last season and last 2 seasons combined, that's not bad for Wigan. That really, for a first game of the season, I'm quite happy with that, to be honest. And I think the general match ratings of players, I think our back three stood out, and James Carragher had an 8.1 match rating. He also got the assists, which is impressive. I think the danger spells were probably in our wing backs. Connor Barrett and Fraser Murray did not have great performances, which is a bit of a concern that both wing backs struggle, and even up front in Sonny Perkins. And like Kieran said, it really shows our desperate need for a striker, to be honest.
I thought opposite about Connor Barrett, to be honest. I thought, I didn't watch the full game, to be totally honest. I watched the extended highlights, but the parts where I seen Connor Barrett, I quite liked him. He likes to run with the ball. He looks like a very attacking wing back. It does look like he'd struggle on the defensive side, but going forward, he looks positive to me, and it'd be good to see if he really fits in.
It does, yeah. I mean, like I say, I think his player profile, I think it really suits what Gary Caldwell wants in a player. To be fair, especially a wing back. So
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have a strong-sided centre back next to him. One of the stronger lads like Carragher, one of our better fullbacks next to him. Just with, I find his defensive work weak, but going forward, I do really like him, and I do think he likes to run with the ball, which I like to see. I like to see wing backs getting into an area of being able to put a ball into the box, or
Yeah.
even getting into a position on the edge of the area, which Barrett did do a couple times.
it is, yeah. And I think, like you say, I think there's probably potential for Barrett to have a really good season. I mean, he's still quite young and still quite a raw player. He's only 24. I know a lot of Walsall fans are they seem quite pleased that they've got rid that he's off their hands, which does surprise me a little bit. I personally think that's just sour grapes. I think they're probably just arguably disappointed he's gone to a, let's face it, vastly superior club. But
What do people think of Joe Walsh?
oh yeah, I mean, well, yeah. To be fair, you know, Joe Walsh. To be honest, you know what? I'll come to Matthew and Ethan. What do you guys reckon of Joe Walsh's first?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on that. I felt like, especially in the penalty shootout, he wasn't getting near any of them, which is for me kind of concerning. He commanded the box a lot more though than he did in pre-season, so I'm more confident about that. Catching the ball, I'm a bit, because sometimes when the ball has come to him, he has dropped it, but obviously regathered. But yeah, I'm half and half. I was impressed, but then there was some parts I thought could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Walsh. To be fair, I mean, look, I mean, the thing with him is that he does have very good experience from last season. He was a big part of QPR's championship season with 23 appearances and 4 clean sheets, which I don't think is too bad for a young goalkeeper, particularly one that's was second, third choice for most of his time at QPR. He's not Sam Tickle, but I don't think he's a million miles off Sam Tickle. I think with a few months he could probably be the next best thing to some extent. But
the one thing I noticed about Walsh is distribution. It looks really good. He can get that ball into some deep areas from a goal kick. He can get it all the way up to the edge of the opponent's area, which is exciting. If you can get a tall striker and flick onto the end of that, there's chances there. So his distribution to me was a real standout point to me, and a real key part of his game that I noticed.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, to be honest, I think you kind of look at the way that I mean, that is a lot similar to how Sam Tickle was sort of deployed at times last season. I mean, obviously, we all remember that fantastic assist he got for Paul Mullen against Lincoln last season. We all remember that, and that I think is something that hopefully Joe Walsh can recreate at some point this season. So, yeah, I mean, we'll come to you next, Ethan. What did you think of the Barnsley performance overall?
Well, as you know, I didn't watch it. I only tried to keep track of Twitter and live score and whatnot, because Wi-Fi is a big pants. But from what I saw, that first half is something we seriously need to continue with, but for a full 90. And again, like Kieran said, if we had a better striker, that knows where his feet are, we could have been 4 or 5 goals up in that first half alone with the chances.
Yeah, definitely.
But in that second half, in my opinion, I think the substitutions confused me a little bit. A lot of defensive changes when the game is there for the taking. It brings me back to the World Cup match, England and Argentina. They were there for the taking. We had to go at it, but instead we go too defensive, and then ultimately we're punished. That's exactly what Barnsley did to us. They punished us, and well, they won on penalties. But the performance in itself is good. I like it. Really, really positive. But we've just got to make that first half into a full 90. And that's all I've got to say about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, all in all, I believe we have the squad to be competitive. I think the Barnsley performance did have its positive aspects in it. We did get some really good opportunities on goal, but it lies back to not being able to finish them, and that's what's punished us the past two seasons now, I'd say.
We find ourselves relying on lone strikers all the time with Joe Taylor, Dale Taylor. I mean, we've not had a good striker since Will Grigg. I mean, you could argue Will Keane as well. But ever since them 2 lads have gone, we've not had a prolific goal scorer. We've been relying on other teams to loan them to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've not had a permanent striker for a long time.
If you look at the permanent strikers you've actually brought in, it's like you go back to like Ashley Fletcher.
Yeah.
Who I remember when we brought him in, he had like 6 goals in like 5 years, which is like
Yeah.
just
But look at
criminal.
him now. Just look at
Obviously,
him now. He smashed
Yeah.
it for
he was flying last season. Yeah.
Blackpool.
Well, remember Blackpool at home 2-0.
Oh,
They'll say that.
Yeah, they both came back to horse. Yeah. That was embarrassing. That, but yeah, I do agree. Yeah, I think we have struggled for strikers in recent years. I mean, Joe Taylor's probably the first striker in a long time. Since probably, I'd like to say, probably since Wilgood, that made me think this guy could be the one. But you know, at the end of the day, we just aren't going to pay. We were never going to be able to afford or compete to be able to get his signature at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
We all knew we're never going to buy him, but it was just like a pipe dream, wasn't it? It's like, oh, if we sell Sam, we can just bring him in with the money we get for him. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I know just not ambitious enough to make that kind of sign.
it's sadly, it's just not as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I think that then we will move on to the next talking point, and that is the Cambridge United preview. First EFL League One game of the new season this Saturday, away at the Cladara Abbey Stadium. I think this is a tough away trip. Cambridge have just been promoted. They've got a point to prove. They want a good start to the season. I think the bookies will probably favour them to go down this season. I do think that Cambridge might surprise this season, to be fair. I think they're in a much better position than they were when they last went down, or last time they started a League One season. Yeah, let's come to everyone individually and let's get a score prediction. We'll start with Morgan. What's your score prediction for Saturday, Morgan?
Before I give it, I just want to say I chat on Instagram to a Cambridge fan called Jaden, and there is something that the Cambridge fans are going to do, which I personally put in a story for Instagram, that in the 19th minute, they're going to do a minute's applause for a guy called Kieran Stevens, who was a mate of one of Jane's friends who sadly passed away a few weeks ago. So they're asking for Wigan fans to join in the applause in the 19th minute, chanting, "There's only one Kieran Stevens." So I figured I'd put that in.
Yeah. If anyone watching does go, guys, make sure you do partake in that. And mark your respects for poor Jaden. But
for my score prediction, I like Cambridge. They've got a really good team, and their star man is a former Wigan player, Kel Watts.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say it's gonna finish 0-0 because Cambridge have a good defence and we have a weak attack, and we have a good defence and they have a weak attack.
I mean, to be fair, I think 0-0 would be true Wigan fashion for a first game of the season. You know, all the hype, and we probably will be disappointed with a 0-0. I can fairly see that. And you mentioned Kel Watts. I mean, what did you guys actually make of Kel Watts' time as a Wigan player? He had 2 loan spells. His first one was decent, I think. His second one wasn't anything really.
He was underused in his second season, I'd say. He didn't get played that much.
Wasn't using the Sean Maloney, to be fair, was he?
Well, I just think back to that moment at Burton Albion and just think of happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was at that game. I'm pretty sure it ended 0-0, and for Kel Watts to pull that off with a couple minutes to go,
it was
incredible.
It was impressive. That
the 2-0 gesture to the Bolton fans was quite class as well.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I did.
Class.
I did think he did love his time at Wigan. I did think he did enjoy his time at Wigan. But obviously, the squad we had that year when we went up with Jack Watmore ahead of him, Curtis Tilt ahead of him, I did think he did struggle to get in the squad here and there.
And even Jason Kerr ahead of him as well.
Just looking back at his profile now, he made 35 appearances that season, which I did not expect.
Yeah, it's impressive that.
I did think he went under the radar.
Yeah, 100%.
It did a bit. I mean, he was never really a really valued player at Newcastle, to be fair. But, he was young as well, because he still is only 26 now. So, and we had him. That first loan was 2021-22 season, so he was young at the time. He was young and hungry, but he seems to have settled down at Cambridge now. It does, yeah, and I'm happy for him. I think he's found his feet at a club that, well, I mean, a fan base that certainly get behind him. Not a huge fan base, but by no means an awful fan base. So yeah, I think fair play to Cal Watson. I think he's found a good club for himself overall. With that, we'll come to Ethan next. What do you reckon for Saturday, mate? What is your score prediction? Early score prediction?
It's difficult to tell. If we sign a striker before that game comes, and if Reggie Walsh comes in, providing injuries are done and dusted with Condolo and Trevi, I'm going to go for 2-0 Wigan, staying positive, maybe being a bit biased, a bit blind, it being Wigan. But I like to think we'll go into that game, going at them. Just like we did against Barnsley in our first half, or making a 90, proper striker, 2-0 Latics.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2-0 is definitely possible. And like I said, I think hopefully we get an early goal and we sit back a bit, and then we'll push hopefully in the second half that second goal. I think 2-0 is definitely achievable, and I do agree with that. I think that's not a completely awful prediction.
I think under Caldwell, anything is possible under him. We saw from last season how good we looked when Ryan Lowe left and Gaz came in. We just looked like a different team, even with the players we have.
Yeah. To be fair, that Luton game, it felt like an immediate improvement. To be honest, it was impressive. To be honest,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll come to you next, Kieran. What's your score prediction for Saturday?
Yeah, I think Cambridge is a real dogfight. I think it is a really tough place to go to, no matter the position you're in. Even if you look back at that season we went up, we were 2-0 down and brought it back to 2-2. It is a real dogfight going down there. Sorry, so I do think it has got a 1-0 all over it.
Yeah,
I do think it is going to be a really scrappy game, and they're obviously going to be hungry, but so are we. We're basically a completely new side now. Well, what feels to me like a new side feels like a new Wigan to me. Even though we haven't had that many faces through the door, obviously we have had a lot leave, and I do think it is a 1-0 Wigan all over.
Okay. Yeah, I can get down that. It would be true Wigan fashion that again, a 1-0 and take it down to the wire, but I can see it. Up next, Matthew. What's your score prediction, Matthew?
Yes, mate. I think it's going to be 1-0 Wigan. Like Kieran said, it's going to be very scrappy. They've got a good defence. We reckon we're going to get that early goal and we keep it on the front foot. Like you said, I would sit back a bit and then obviously just keep that relentless pressure. Hopefully over the course of both halves, not just the first against Barnsley. But I'm going to go 1-0 Wigan.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously 1-0 is a popular theme here, but I think you also, you all mentioned, obviously, the Barnsley performance, and like I said, there was definitely positives in that first half. And, if we can start the game as similarly as possible to that game, and hopefully, find a weakness early in Cambridge, I think there's every chance we'll get the other goal through, probably. I would probably say it's likely to be Darragh Costello again, to be honest. And last but not least, let's go to Morgan. What's your score prediction, mate? I
gave it already, 0-0.
Oh, you did, man. No, you did. Never mind. Yeah, right. Well, then, what I meant was, let's go to me then. I'm gonna say, I don't go for it. I reckon I'm gonna copy the theme. And I'm gonna say Cambridge 0, Wigan 1, and I think it will be, like I say, I think it'll be via Darragh Costello. It'll be an early goal, maybe a scrappy goal in Wigan fashion, but I think time will tell. And last but not least, we'll go to Curtis. What do you reckon, mate?
I reckon it'll be a difficult one. Like it's been said, Cambridge not an easy ground to go to, and I'm looking at the results in previous seasons. We've lost to them a few times, quite a few draws there. I mean, the most recent time we went there was obviously in the FA Cup, where we just scraped that 2-1 at the end. So with that, I think probably struggle there. I'm probably going to go with a 0-0 like Morgan.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I agree with that. True Wigan style 0-0, or even a 1-0. Both of them are very well. I mean, they're all valid predictions overall, but look, time will tell. But 3 points on open day would be the dream. I'd take a draw. A defeat's what we don't want. We need to avoid a defeat at all costs. But a draw or a win would be ideal, really. I think with that, we'll go on to the Aston Villa under-21s preview in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. Well, was it Virtu now? Virtu Motors Trophy now. It's constantly changing that tournament. Look, I mean, this is, in my opinion, a very irrelevant tournament. I'm not a fan of this tournament at all. I think it's a weird format. Although it is interesting playing against these under-21 sides. You know, there's certain players that, you know, hopefully in the future from these Prem academies that will want to be decent ballers in the next sort of 5 or so years. I mean, I don't know if we should do predictions for this, because like I said, it's not really a massively relevant game. But do you think we should be winning this game?
I don't think it really matters one way or the other. In my opinion, I think it's a really good opportunity to get our young players out there, get them on the pitch, get them a full 90 in a cup match. So I think either way, it's going to be good, in my opinion.
I think it will be, like I say, a chance to experiment with some of the youth, particularly like players like Kamani Miller. I hope someone like him gets a start. I've not seen enough of him recently, and it does seem like he's part of Caldwell's plan, so I'd like to see him involved. We'll go to you next, Mo. What do you think?
I'm just trying to bring up the Aston Villa under squad. Personally, for me, we should be able to beat these, but what happened last time when we faced an academy side in the trophy?
Yeah, Wolves. Yeah, that was a bit of yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of a shit show. That. Kieran, what do you think?
See, every manager says they take this competition seriously, which I don't think they do. But if it was me, I'd be taking it serious. It's a day out at Wembley. It can really bring a families back together, and especially how divided I would say our fan base is at the moment, especially if you talk on attendances and stuff like that. But if we can get a day out at Wembley behind us, it could bring some people back to the club who maybe haven't been in a couple of years, and it can get more faces through the door. So if it was me, I'd be taking this competition seriously, and I would be starting a stronger side, maybe not a full squad, but a stronger side to go far in this competition. Because like I look back to Sutton United on penalties. Was it penalties at home?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
10 days a week were missed. And we were a penalty away from a day out at Wembley, and that was the same year we went up. I'm pretty sure we could have had a,
it was. Yeah,
we could have done the double.
Yeah, we could have had a day out at Wembley and a day out at Shrewsbury, but unfortunately we didn't. So I quite like the tournament. I do think it is a good opportunity for the young lads, but then I also would be taking it seriously to try and get that day out at Wembley that we all want so badly.
Yeah, I think it is actually a good shout mentioning Wembley. I think I never really thought of that, but definitely it is a chance of a nice day out at Wembley. And like you say, I think it will be a chance to probably bring back some of the older fans who, you know, maybe, well, not even old fans, maybe some of the fans that have lost interest in Wigan over the past sort of decade or so. I think that's a good shout. That, and yeah, and with that, Matthew, do you think that this is a tournament to take seriously or lightly?
For me, I've never liked it. I suppose obviously the good aspects of it is obviously a trip to Wembley. But for me, I think it's a competition that should be scrapped, in my opinion. But I suppose, I think if we get the younger players out, give them some minutes. But yeah, for me, I treat it like a friendly.
Yeah.
I don't think as a whole the competition needs to be scrapped. I would say the format needs to be relooked at 100%. The format of the competition is a bit all over the shop and a bit wrong in my eyes. But I think as a League One and a League Two club, having that competition where it's just the two of you for a chance day out at Wembley is good, but with the whole under-21 system, the penalties, if you win on pens, you get a point. I think that whole format's just not right at the minute. I think if they was to relook at it, come back with a new format and try it again.
Yeah, again, I do agree. I think, like I say, I think the format's a bit over the show. I mean, it's a decent chance for some, I suppose, the Premier League academies to get a little bit of a chance against, you know, some vastly superior teams and players ahead of their years. So I do agree with you that the format needs changing. Maybe not the tournament itself. Maybe it should be kept alive for another few seasons. With that, I'll go to you, Kurt. What do you think about the Virtu Motors Trophy?
I mean, I can see it from both sides, really. I think, you know, someone say, well, yeah, it's pointless. I mean, you know, it doesn't really draw many fans in, obviously, as we only open one stand. But like you say, you know, you've got the prospect of potentially going to Wembley. I think it's good in its own way. I think as well, you know, you say Prem academies. I think, you know, it's a good chance to see what ballers these Prem academies have got that you might be able to scout in future seasons or whatever. But here's one for you. If they change the format, for example, to replace like Prem teams, like some National League sides, do you think that'd be like a better move?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
I think that'd be
Yeah, I think it does give more competition, doesn't it? Especially for
It does, yeah, and like you say, it just gives a bit of exposure again to the National League. I don't feel like there's enough exposure towards the National League, really, to be honest. I think it would be a good move, that, but I mean, that's a different. I mean, you know what, Kurt, and get writing a letter to the EFL, you know, so let's see what they think.
Yeah, because if you look at the sides like York and Rochdale last season, they both went toe to toe. If they were in that sort of competition, they could have, with the momentum they had behind us, they could have been a real problem. Maybe a bigger problem than these under-21 sides would be in this sort of competition.
It is, yeah, and it is very true. I mean, the attention that fixture got was pretty breathtaking, to be fair. It got a hell of a lot of, what's the word? Attention. And it did, and you look at how unbelievably the game ended. I think it's like it goes to show that the National League's not to be underestimated. It is a very impressive league, and that itself is a good format. National League, it's a very punishing format. One wrong move and you are down and out.
Yeah,
so.
like, I'm a big advocate for the National League. Like, I've previously worked at South Shields Football Club, and knowing the season they went through last season, they were top of the league for so many weeks, and then finished second and lost in the playoffs and didn't go up.
Yeah,
and it's heartbreaking, that format, but I think it is being looked at, and I think it has been changed now, or is looking to be changed, because finishing second in a division and still having to go through the playoffs just doesn't sit right at all.
Yeah, I agree, because I said on the podcast that I hated the format for the playoffs, because I don't think second deserves to have to fight for the place, especially the fact that last season and even the season before, it was basically a two-team league.
Yeah.
So them two teams should have gone up, and maybe there should be an extra relegation place for League Two, and an extra team from the National League playoffs should go up.
Well, there's the new format of the Championship now as well, isn't there, with the eliminators?
That sucks.
Yeah, which I don't totally agree with. You're just making the schedule busier. You're making the fixture load even harder. You're probably making holiday season for players shorter as well. Because obviously with the eliminators, you're gonna have to push the playoff finals back a little, maybe a week or two. So players rest is in jeopardy as well.
Plus, you have the fact that most of these EFL guys have just spent a few weeks in North America playing for the World Cup. If they have to do this whole playoff thing, that's like a whole load of matches for like an entire calendar year.
I was looking a couple of days ago. If you play in the Championship and you have an okay run in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, you can play 60 games in a season across all trophies.
Well, you get the bonuses.
Yeah, even in League One, with if you have a good run in the Carabao and the FA Cup and the Virtue, you can play like 56, 58 games across the season.
It is, and it is a mental workload, really. But I think, like you guys were saying about the format, I would like to see more teams from the National League coming to the EFL. I think it's getting a bit, I wouldn't say boring, but it's just a bit predictable. I think there's too many teams that have been here for a number of years now, and I would like to see maybe some other teams that we've not seen for years or never seen at all, given a chance, maybe.
At all.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Kieran, you'll probably have seen the Super League in rugby and how they expanded. Championship clubs have come in.
Yeah,
I want to see that for the National League as well. Get new clubs into the 92.
Yeah, so they expanded the entire league by bringing 3 up. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they added 2 extra, and
yeah,
they
one
did this whole grade thing.
Yeah,
Salford have been terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall, yeah, the point does stand that maybe the Virtu Motors Trophy should be scrapped. But overall, that Aston Villa game, it's not a must win. It's not a must lose. It just is what it is. We'll see what happens. I reckon that'll probably be a draw on the night, to be honest. Okay, with that, we're going to revisit something we have been through on my channel before, but I think for you guys, I want to hear your takes, to be fair. The window's not over yet, but the season's just around the corner. So let's do some let's do some early-ish season predictions. Off the top of your head, where do you think Wigan Athletic will finish as of May 2027?
I do think we are big underdogs. I think we are serious underdogs going into the new season. I think we are a striker away from being a serious competitive side in the league, especially if we can get a little bit of coverage for the bench. Because if you look at that Barnsley bench, it did look thin, it looked young, but we do still have 3 or 4 loan spots available, I'm pretty sure, which can bring some backup and some cover in there. So I do think if we can get the right transfers through the door, that we can be up there and we can fight for that one of those playoff spots.
I do agree on that. I think the playoffs is achievable. I mean, I think I said we'll just miss out on playoffs last season, and that was a little bit wrong in the end. But yeah, I wouldn't say playoffs is completely it's not completely out of the ordinary. I think it's definitely a chance there. Let's come to Matthew. Matthew, what do you reckon for season predictions this season? Where do you think Wigan will finish?
Yeah, it's one of those ones we can push up for playoffs, but like I said, the team, we need more bodies in there. But yeah, I think what I've said, we have a striker away from looking really, really good. So at the moment, I'm going to go like mid-table, I'll go 12th, I reckon.
12, okay, yeah, I think that. I mean, to be honest, I think if you gave me 12th right now, I'd say that's a pretty solid season overall. It's we're not massively underachieved, but we're not massively overachieved. It's kind of in the middle. I think that's all right. Ethan, what do you reckon?
Going off what Kieran said, I think it was spot on. We are a striker away from being a serious team. I call it blind faith. I genuinely think we will finish 4th or 5th playoffs.
Okay, I like the ambition. I like it. I think 4th or 5th. I mean, we're not a club that have traditionally ever really been through the playoffs. It feels like whenever we've gone up, we have either finished. We've either pissed the league, or just not had quite enough in the tank. But I think overall playoffs would be interesting, the playoffs. But I think the problem is though we lack the depth, and also we do lack players who are experienced in going into playoffs, because the playoffs are brutal, very brutal, particularly the semi-finals itself. We'll come to you, Morgan. What do you reckon?
I agree with Kieran and Ethan. We're a strike away. Ethan, I have to say, I definitely don't agree with your prediction of 4th or 5th. I don't think this is going to be a good season again for us. Personally, when we did the start season last year, we had a good squad. Then we saw them play, and they all turned to pot. So personally, I don't think we'll have much success to write home about unless we get a really good striker. So right now, I'm going to say 13th.
13th again, very similar to what Matthew said. I mean, we're a bit split here. I think Ethan and Kieran both think we're going to probably be either in the playoffs or there around. Whereas Morgan and Matthew, you both reckon we're probably going to be mid-table.
I think we'll definitely fight for that last playoff spot. I don't think we're high enough to be one of the top teams in the playoffs, but I think we can definitely fight for that last playoff spot, and it will come down to a big race over the last few weeks, and we'll see if we can get it done.
Personally, I see us more of being a relegation battling team again if we don't get our, morale sorted.
I don't know. I do think that on paper we do have a very capable team for League One. I just think the problem is though, it's a team that just needs more time to gel than we're getting in pre-season's not long enough in my opinion, but it is what it is. You have to just get on with that. But I think if this team, properly gelled, I think it is a really explosive and quite a dynamic young team, to be honest. There's some really good role players like I think this season Fraser Murray will probably carry us a lot at times. He'll be one of the players to watch out for. But yeah, I mean, I'll come back to Kieran because I did cut off Kieran. What were you saying, Kieran?
Well, I was just going to comment on the fact that like based off the whole morale stuff, I do think we are a strong team. I do think we do lack experience, and I do feel like that is why we brought Power back, which I didn't totally agree with at first. But over the past few weeks, I have become a Power advocate again. I do love him, and I do love him playing for Wigan. And I feel like every time he does play for Wigan, we do kick on, and we do perform. So with someone like him back in the dressing room, I do think the young lads now have someone to look up to. Because if you look at last season we had a really, really young squad. Obviously with the skipper, Jason Kerr leaving now, even him, he was still quite young. He's still in like the prime of his career, where I do think if you can do bring a couple of the old heads back, or maybe not even back, if you can just bring a couple old heads in to get the lads to kick on, then we can fight for that. I did see today that James McLean's might be leaving Derry, so
Get him in.
What?
Get him in now.
Goodness me.
Apparently Derry have terminated his contract, so but he turned up to training today, but he was told that his contract's no longer available, so it's interesting to see. I seen it on Northern Irish Twitter today.
I mean that is classic James McLean, really, isn't it? He doesn't give an SHI shit, really. But
he was told his contract's gone, and he rocked up to training this morning, wanting to train. So
I love that. I love that. I mean, James McLean is he's a cult hero. He's a brilliant player to have in a squad because he's no nonsense, no mess around with him, and he does like to cause a bit of a
ultimate
he'll
shit.
fight for the badge. He'll fight for the badge.
That's the best
That's
thing about
something
it.
that we're missing.
I'd actually
yeah,
love
it is,
to
and I
see
think
him
I would 100%. I would definitely be up to the idea of McLean return to Wigan. I can't see it happening, but I wouldn't be against it at all.
I will
Johnson, yeah.
think I'm on the James McLean bandwagon. Whether he's 38 or not, I will be on that bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too, man. I completely agree with that. I think it will. It would be. I think it's definitely something that the club should explore. I mean, the only thing is, I mean, would he be wanting a significant salary? I don't really know, but
I think he would, only given the fact that he has just moved back home, so obviously he would have to move everything back.
I know, yeah, and that is a bit of a ball ache for him, but
that's the only reason I think it would take a good salary on the table to convince him, because he is now settled back in Derry. Obviously spending last season at Derry, which is the thing he wanted. He wanted to go back home. He said he'd finish his career over there, but his contract's been terminated because he was told he isn't fit and ready enough. But he seems advocate that he is fit and ready.
it makes you think that something may have happened over there. If I terminate his contract so suddenly, maybe something behind the closed doors.
Even if you look at a similar deal as to what Cal Mack's been given, he's been given a player/mentor contract, hasn't he? So if you look at a similar option to that,
that's not a bad shout. That is a good shout. That.
If you look at another option there, like the Cal Mack deal,
Yeah,
because we are probably one of the, if you look at average ages, we are probably one of the youngest squads in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like that, but like you say, we do need the experience. I mean, I look at Jason Kerr last season. He was our captain, and Jason Kerr by no means is an old player. He was only, 27, 28, so
yeah,
I do agree. Yeah, I do agree that we need more senior players in the squad.
Especially if you're gonna kick on and you want to go and achieve things. Like, look at the squad that Liam Richardson had. It was an older team. It was a very, very, very mature squad, a very experienced squad that he had.
It was, definitely.
There wasn't that many.
A lot of senior players in that squad. With that, go on, Curtis. What's your season prediction? Where do you think we're going to finish this season?
Well, I think after listening to everyone's points, I've got to say I'm in agreement with a lot of the points. I think, we've not played any of the league games yet. I think, we've still got everything to play for. You can say the sky's the limit and all that, but I do think, being realistic, mid-table-ish is probably where we're going to be again. But I think, still a few weeks left of the transfer window. Got to make the most of it. And if we do make some good business, then I might change my mind on that. But yeah, I think mid-table is probably about where we're at. And
Yes.
I mean, I also want to say that I was against Max Power as well, but I think we need some senior faces in there. I want to put that out there as well.
Yeah, I seen it. I was like, I don't know about this. Like another run, is he going to tarnish what he's built at Wigan? But I have jumped back on the bandwagon of Max Power now, and I do really like the signing, especially
Yeah, me
seeing
too. Yeah.
especially seeing him on Saturday with Aston Villa. I do think they seem to have gelled quite well together. But I feel like Power is a standout midfielder who could play alongside a lot of players and showcase what he has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think you got to bear in mind that he did impress last season at Bradford. I mean, Bradford were one of the better teams in League One last season. There was, it's not like he's been bought in after having a dreadful season. There's still definitely a bit of there's still a lot of class in Max Power. And like I say, he's a bit of a Wigan cult hero. Is this his third spell at the club? I think he's
the old Calman Manman route.
What's that, Morgan?
He's doing the old Calman Manman route. Leaves after a good number of years. Goes to a foreign place, comes back, goes somewhere else again, and then comes back again.
It is, yeah. It has actually. Him and Cal Mack have both gone kind of full circle with Wigan, which is quite funny.
Yeah, I do think.
Go on, Matthew.
Yeah, I do think obviously the leadership part is obviously the main priority that he's come in. Obviously, leadership of the young lads. I do think he'll get the best out of Jensen Weir. But yeah, like everyone's saying, I wasn't really sure when we first signed him. But yeah, I jumped on the bandwagon now, and I think he played like nearly every game for Bradford last season. So he's got plenty of gas in the tank. So I think he'll come good.
Yeah, completely, mate. I totally agree with you. And speaking of all these senior players, it does actually bring me on to quite a big question next. This week, Gary Caldwell did come out and say that he's not actually going to choose a captain for this season. He's going to kind of leave it down to the players and sort of see what happens. On paper, looking at the squad as it stands right now, which player do you guys think would offer the most and is the most ideal player as captain for the season?
I mean, it's going to be Power in it. I mean, he knows everything about the club, plenty of experience, obviously, as we know. But yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. It has to be Max Power.
Okay, Matthew, Kieran?
I think there's two main people for me. It's Max Power or James Carragher. I think they're the two players that stand out to me. That if it was down to me, it'd be between them two.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned James Carragher. I think I think he's a player that is worth mentioning. I think he just scream captaincy. I think he's the sort of player that would suit the role.
Yeah, he has got those leadership qualities. Like when you hear him in interviews, he's so well spoken, and I think
he is.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. Ethan, we'll come to you. Who do you think makes the most ideal captain in this Wigan squad?
I'm gonna have to go for Max Power. He's a natural leader, and he's been that way since his first stint with Wigan when we first signed him from Tranmere. He's always been that way, hasn't he? So it's got to be Maxi.
Yeah, totally agree. And Morgan, are you going the same or are you going different?
I'll say, I think the reason James is so good at voicing him is thanks to his dad.
Yeah.
Jamie's probably one of the best ever captains in Liverpool history. I agree with Max and James, but I would also give a shout to Morgan Fox.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah, okay. Why Morgan Fox?
I think he was very underrated last year. He's one of our seniors as well. So he has had a lot of maybe leader being led by other captains and stuff. So he could have used all those experiences being led to lead other players.
You know what? I do like the suggestion of Morgan Fox. I think Morgan Fox, to be fair, I think he arrived last summer quite unexpectedly, but he is a very good footballer. He's got a fantastic CV. He had two very good spells with both Stoke and QPR in the last 3 years, and he was one of the standout players for them. I do agree with you about Morgan Fox. I think he was very underrated last season. I think he had a big shift in our team, and obviously he did get injured towards the end of the season. I think you could definitely see that he was missed at times. So yeah, I like Morgan Fox. Kurt, what do you reckon? Are you in agreement with Max Power?
Yeah, I'm not going to have any objections to that. I think he's been here multiple times, knows the club. Play for the badge. I've got no objections to Max Power.
Yeah, me neither. And like I say, I feel like you guys have said, I do agree. It's probably between Max Power, James Carragher. Well, let's face it, Max Power should be main captain, and I think James Carragher is vice captain. And then following that, not really too fussed, really. I mean, maybe Cal Mack, maybe to some extent, if he gets the occasional game. But let's face it, I think at the age Cal Mack is, I think I noticed it long before last season. I just think that he is really starting to struggle now to do much with the ball. His legs are starting to go. He's not as natural of a dribbler as he once was. I just think that maybe Cal McManaman should be limited to his game time next season, but time will tell that. What's next to discuss, or is that the end of this episode?
We might want to talk about some Wigan clubs and what threats we might have this season.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, here's one for you guys. Which fixture on the list do you think is the biggest threat this season? What's the fixture you're least looking forward to this season?
Chef Wednesday away.
Sheffield Wednesday, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Chef Wednesday away in a couple of weeks.
That will be tough.
I will say Sheffield Wednesday have made the best transfer business out of the entire 92.
Yeah, I think it is quite a good argument. I mean, Chef Wednesday are playing for, they want to go back to the Championship, and they've got unfinished business. Obviously, I know that last season did not at all go their way, probably even less than that, to be honest. But yeah, they're a club with definitely a point to prove. I think to some extent, I'm glad and I'm not glad that we've not got to face Bolton this season. Yeah, we are missing probably our most exciting away day of the season, but then still, I just think that it's kind of good we get a little break from Bolton for a season, and I think it will make it a bit more, something to look forward to when they eventually either come down failing than that, if we ever go up in the next 5 years or so, let's face it, probably very unlikely. But yeah, I mean, any other fixtures you guys think we should be on the watch out for?
I also think that entire couple of weeks is a dangerous couple of weeks. Like, we have MK Dons on a Tuesday night. That's a tough one at home. We play Stockport at 12:30 at home. The week after, we're at Chef Wednesday away, Wickham at home, and then we have Leicester away. September's a really, really tough month, just looking at it on paper. To play Leicester, Chef Wednesday on Stockport County all in the space of a couple of weeks. That's a tough month.
It certainly is. Ethan, what do you think?
I agree with Kieran again. I'm saying that quite a lot now, but for me, it's got to be MK Dons. I just think, as much as I hate him, the franchise, but they are recruiting really, really well, and you know what kind of team they're like. Even when they've got a mid squad, they're a handful to deal with from time to time. I mean, have they still got that Collins this time from Bolton?
I'm not 100% sure. I am looking forward to me padded seat at MK Dons away this season. Oh, what a ground that is! No matter
padded
what,
seat in front of 2,000 MK Don fans.
No matter what you have to say about them, the fact you get a padded seat in the away end,
yeah, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and there's an over the road. Can't forget about that.
But yeah, it's got to be MK Dons for me. I think there's going to be a bit of a handful this season for every team, not just us. You see a lot of predictions. Mostly everybody's placing them up there, aren't they? Like third, second.
I mean, I think it's valid. I think Paul Warren is a really good gaffer, and I think he knows how to scout League One. And I think that, I do think he's got the chance of making MK Dons very deadly this season if everything goes to plan for him.
Yeah. Also Blackpool away in November. Freezing cold.
Seaside, freezing cold. Can't wait.
Ian Everett.
Yeah. Ian Everett. Yeah.
And Matthew, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, mate, I've got to go Sheffield Wednesday. Best transfer window probably one of them. They're up there. But yeah, MK Dons as well. They've gone under the radar. They've made some very, really good underrated signings. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna stay with Sheffield Wednesday. I think that's gonna be very, very tough.
But even if you look, I know they've got a lot of money to play with, but even if you look at the recruitment of Leicester, what Leicester have done recruitment-wise going into a League One season is insane.
It is impressive.
They'll rival of Tommy Watson on loan from Brighton. He's an exciting winger.
It is,
who will probably.
I feel like it's going to be a shock there. I feel like they're not good. I know it's just out of nowhere, but I think they might not do as well as people think. Leicester.
I'm going to say
That's a
something
good
a bit
feeling.
controversial, and I think we could potentially do the double over Leicester. I
Yeah.
potentially think we could do double.
I hope
It's just
so.
something.
I mean, the King Power will be a good away day. That'll be interesting.
It will.
I don't think they're going to go straight back up. Like
No.
people think they're going to walk the league 100
Yeah.
points.
No.
I personally don't see it. I do think they are a really, really good side, but it's whether they can kick on, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, I do think that Sheff Wednesday, it's given vibes to Birmingham 24-25. It's given vibes to that a little bit, and I think that'll probably be quite a similar season. Maybe not quite as good.
Oh, that away end when Nathan Broadhead squad.
Oh,
Limbs.
but even like if you look at the departures of Leicester, they've lost about 15 players, which just based off going down, that's a lot of players to lose. There'll be a big change inside, so it's whether they can kick on.
It is, yeah, and it will be time will tell that. I think with that then, I mean,
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything we wanted to get through, but obviously, we've got a few new faces today. So before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you've seen this week that you might want to bring up? Anything Wigan related, anything you've been thinking about, anything you completely disagree on that we've chatted about today? Now's your chance.
I've got a little one here. So BBC Sport have Caldwell on the radio tonight, and people are leaving comments to ask a question. If you could ask one question, what would it be?
oh, that's a good question. Go on.
Oh, I don't know.
There's plenty.
I mean, that's a good question. That I'd probably ask him how personally he thinks big of a loss Sam Tickle is. I'd like to hear what he thinks about Sam Tickle leaving. I think that'd be quite interesting to hear.
Yeah, if it was me, I'd probably go down like the morale, see what's the squad morale like at the minute.
Yeah.
How's pre-season gone? What are the lads like inside the camp? Are people happy? What's like the relationship like in the dressing room more than anything? Is there a divide, or do we seem to be?
Yeah, good shout out. I like that. Yeah, it's a good shout out.
Because something like that to me is massive. If there's a divide in the dressing room, you aren't going to perform. You do need to form sort of like a brotherhood and be able to come together.
It will be interesting. It will be. I think, like I say, this season will be very unpredictable, but time will tell. Well, thanks for that, Kieran. Has anyone else got anything to add that we've missed out today? Do you think?
I've got something that was put up an hour ago, and I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but this came from the PFA, and they have started legal proceedings against the EFL over changes to salary caps, which means the changes would reduce the percentage of turnover that clubs could spend on wages from 60 to 50%.
Interesting. God, I mean, I don't know where to start.
I mean, if I was working for a newspaper, that would probably be my question right now for Gary.
Yeah, that's not bad. That. I mean, and get commenting, Morgan, on the post. Get commenting. Might get your question potentially answered. Ethan, Matthew, anything to add?
All I've got to say is sign a striker. That's
So
I
agree.
second that, actually.
I think I speak for
What
many
happened
Wigan
to
fans.
those
Those don't know,
Worthing
just
rumours?
sign a striker.
Okay, well, we'll end on this one. If you guys could sign any realistic striker for Wigan, who would it be and why?
Does it have to be realistic, like if we can afford them?
Yeah, realistic. Like don't throw Mbappe at me or anything like that.
I was not. I would personally say we could get. Where has he gone? Michael Cheek.
That's not an
Oh.
awful shot. I like that. I don't mind that actually.
Is
He
he
was
still?
linked to us. And like you say, he's probably more than realistic. But then I think with Wigan's recruitment team, I just don't think we'd probably go for it. I just don't think our recruitment team's smart enough to do that. To be
I
honest.
think they'll think he might wants a bit more wages, seeing as the seasons he's been having at Bromley.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, for me, I think again, I don't know how much they want for him, but Jaden Wareham for me, I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, Wareham's a good shout. It's a good shout, actually.
There's
Go on, Keith.
there's two names there for me. I seen the other day that Luton are exploring options for Jerry Yates to leave the club.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
I think-
Jerry Yates, again, I mean, he knows the Championship. He knows a little bit of League One. He could be one to potentially look at. But I just think that knowing Wigan, I just couldn't see it being likely, to be honest.
Might be a bit too optimistic. Or Keeler Dunn on loan from Wrexham, or is that out of the?
I
out
think
of the
that's,
question?
Yeah, I think that's
Wage demand to be too high, I reckon.
yeah, but then he's not really been playing for Wrexham. I mean, he was brilliant in League One. He was way too good for Barnsley, and it's a bit like Joe Taylor. Clearly too good for Championship, but clearly good enough for League One. It's one of them, really.
Yeah.
I think with Wrexham, they have too many strikers. They've just loaned out Ryan Hardy to Bolton.
I know, yeah, but Bolton are jamming. Bolton do get good players like that.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a terrific signing though for Bolton. I think to keep them up, it is a good signing, but
I think they just wanted a replacement for Burstow.
yeah,
I mean, Burstow. I don't know. I think he's quite an underrated player. And to be fair, he's not
Here's
too
the
bad.
weird thing. I was speaking to a couple of my teammates from my disability team on Wednesday, and you know who Burstow is dating? Morgs' ex. And
Yeah,
Morgs is
Tamsin, yeah.
So he's going to basically be supporting his ex's partner now.
Oh, I know. It's funny. I know. It's a laugh off. But yeah.
I'm surprised no one said Joe Taylor.
I know, but
The money situation.
What about Dale?
The thing is, still though, is it? Yeah, he's not. He doesn't seem. I mean, he could have joined Blackburn. He turned down Blackburn. I mean, it would have made sense to be going Sheff Wednesday, but Huddersfield clearly think they can do some of him. So that'll be interesting, really.
But also, I don't know if anyone's seen the Joe Geldart situation with him potentially moving to Wrexham for
$4.5 million. I heard.
Yeah. It's going to be another 700k, just like the Alfie Devine to Preston. And
which if we can make a bit of money there, we've got the Batoni compensation, we've got the Tickle money, we've got the Divine money, we're going to have the Joffrey money.
Yeah,
that's at least about 3
There's
to
a
4
certain
million
person
alone right there.
Potentially Anthony Robinson's sell-on clause.
Yeah. There we go, yeah.
It's a shame that because I would like to see Joe Gelhardt given a chance in the Prem. To be fair,
Me too.
I would like to see that. I mean, Charlie Hughes. He seems very well valued by Hull, which is good. At least he's getting the game time.
Do you think he's going to get his opportunity in the Premier League?
I think he should. I think he should be. I think he'll be second choice initially, but I reckon he'll impress quite quickly. Charlie Hughes. I think out of that three of Gelhardt, Joseph, and Hughes, I think Hughes is probably clear of both of them.
I thought Joseph left.
He's gone Borough, isn't it? Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Is it a loan deal?
No, I think it's permanent.
Is it permanent?
5 million I've heard streaming about.
But then they've also signed Will Lancashire, haven't they? So is Cal Joseph going to get that much game time? Because a signing of Will Lancashire in the Championship is an incredible bit of business.
Yeah,
I think Lancashire will play more of a striker role, and Joseph will be the attacking mid.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it's gonna be. It will be a good year this year. I'm excited for this season. Right, guys. I think with that, we will probably call this episode a day. I do want to say a big thank you to Morgan, Ethan, Kieran, and Matthew. Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I will make sure to tag you all on social media. Don't worry about that. So a massive thank you from both me and Curtis. And thanks for your time and take it easy, guys.